Love was a constant companion for Angie Dickinson throughout her life. The suitors came and went, while she was one of the most alluring actresses in Hollywood. While some brought happiness, others brought nothing but sadness. However, throughout all the frenzy of short-lived relationships and scandalous escapades, one man stuck out. Looking back and confessing to the love of her life, Dickinson, at 93 years old, has the clarity that comes with a life well lived. I don't know who this man is. Come and see what's behind the scenes with us. A modest start. Angie Dickinson had previously enchanted a number of Hollywood heavy hitters prior to Policewoman. Before the menacing cameras and legendary parts, she was idolized by Frank Sinatra. She supposedly had an enchanting effect on John F. Kennedy. Producers chose her for roles not only because of her stunning good looks, but also because of her acting chops. Confident, alluring, and never let go. Not Angie, but the guys who were a part of her life were in the news. To males, she was more than just an observer. Many in the audience held her in high esteem. Angie brought her A-game whenever she took the stage. In her hands, it was hers. Her breakthrough performance as Policewoman Sergeant Pepper Anderson was groundbreaking in more ways than one. A paradigm change had occurred. An attractive and authoritative lady helmed an hour-long primetime drama for the first time. Not only was Angie skilled with the camera, but she was also a natural hostess. It was impossible to ignore her. However, she did not start her narrative on a red carpet. A small rural village in North Dakota was the birthplace. A modest town girl named Angeline Brown, with unquenchable ambition and an enduring spark, was Angie Dickinson before the glamour, the dresses, and the dazzling flash of Hollywood cameras. She was born into a devout German-American family on September 30th, 1931, in the quiet prairie town of Culm, North Dakota, the middle of three girls. The Brown family, Frederica and Leo Henry, had long histories of involvement in the area. The Cool Messenger and the Edgeley Mail were both edited by Leo, a revered newspaper publisher and man of words. Angie would one day enchant viewers not with her words on paper, but with the irresistible allure of her film presence, a product of her profound effect. Tales encircled her from the start. She was up in a home where inventiveness and discipline were both valued, and her family practiced Roman Catholicism. In addition to running the paper, her father, the consummate Renaissance man, was the projectionist at the town's sole movie theater. Before the tragic fire that destroyed the theater, little Angie would often sit entranced in front of the silver screen, seeing the black and white stories come to life. However, at that point, the seed had already been planted. For her, movies were more than just a form of pleasure. They had a magical quality. When Angie was just 10 years old in 1942, her life took a turn for the worst. Leaving the peaceful North Dakota plains for the sunny suburbs of Southern California, the Brown family packed up and moved there. They made their home in Burbank, which is close to Hollywood, but Angie's reality was still far removed from the bright lights of the city. She immediately demonstrated that she possessed more than meets the eye. She won the 6th Annual Bill of Rights Essay Contest the year before, and she graduated from Bellarmine Jefferson High School at the age of 15. Her intelligence, eloquence, and dogged persistence betrayed her journalistic lineage. She had every intention of becoming a writer like her father. She went on to get a bachelor's degree in commerce from Glendale Community College and Immaculate Heart University in 1954. She worked at a components factory at the Lockheed Air Terminal, now Bob Hope Airport, throughout that time. Even though it was lowly labor, Angie never considered herself superior to it. She was studying and absorbing while grinding. The year 1952 proceeded thereafter. When Angie Brown wed football player Gene Dickinson, her maiden name changed to Angie Dickinson. Names tend to remain long after marriages end. Like so many Hollywood legends, Dickinson's breakthrough part and destiny arrived at the door of an unlikely person. A casting agent saw Angie after she competed in a local Miss America preliminary and came second. Thanks to that break, she was cast as one of 6 stunning showgirls on Jimmy Durante's show. Her charisma and grace were so captivating that she stood out among the other talented and attractive performers. Then the dominoes started to fall. Beyond her attractiveness, a television producer noticed that she had a certain something. He suggested that she give acting a shot. Angie considered the recommendation carefully. With the spirit of a student and the soul of a performer, delving headfirst into the art. After a short while, NBC approached her about appearing on their variety shows, including the Colgate Comedy Hour. During this time, she crossed paths with Frank Sinatra, who would go on to become a trusted confidant, friend, and ally in the ever-changing entertainment industry. In a 1954 New Year's Eve episode of Death Valley Days, she made her acting debut. A humble beginning, but it opened the path to greater things to come. With roles in matinee theater, Buffalo Bill Jr., City Detective, and General Electric Theater under her belt, Angie became a mainstay of the golden age of television. Her ability to shift from tender and sincere to ferocious and unforgiving was truly remarkable. She demonstrated her competence on horseback, with firearms, and in commanding situations with her roles in Gunsmoke, The Virginian, and Cheyenne. As the 1950s came to a close, Dickinson had become a household name on television. Her film debut was an uncredited supporting role in Lucky Me, 1954, which starred the bubbly Doris Day. Even if you were to blink, you would fail to notice her presence. Unfortunately, that was just the beginning of something big. In the years that followed, she steadily amassed a string of supporting jobs. She was quite forthright about her disinterest in mimicking the careers of Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield right from the start. She was adamant about not being reduced to the stereotypical caricature of a blonde bombshell. However, the studios made an effort to lighten her naturally rich dark hair to a gentle honey blonde, which was just the right shade to meet the beauty standards of the day without completely limiting her movement. She planned to exploit her range to her advantage. Instead of a whirlwind in a desert town, her big break came slowly. Buenos Aires, 1959. The groundbreaking film Rio Bravo, directed by Howard Hawks, established Dickinson as a genuine Hollywood leading lady. Dickinson shone brilliantly as Feathers, the seductive card dealer who catches the eye of the weathered sheriff, John Wayne. She competed well against a stellar ensemble that featured Walter Brennan, Ricky Nelson, and Dean Martin. She accomplished it all with an irreproachable blend of charm, seductive reserve, and a touch of mischief. Angie Dickinson's extraordinary journey took her from the North Dakota plains to the lap of Hollywood aristocracy. Throughout her career in cinema and television, she refused to be pigeonholed or cliched, and her charisma and poise made her an icon. Perpetually changing, perpetually mastering, perpetually remarkable. Part played by Angie Dickinson in The Policewoman. Angie Dickinson had established herself in Hollywood by the early 1970s. She had a reputation for sexiness, screen dominance, and a resume that seamlessly blended gritty B-movie roles with Hollywood A-list charisma. Television came knocking even if she didn't need it. Dickinson had a guest appearance in one episode of the realistic police drama Police Story in March 1974. Both she and the episode were huge hits. The network and viewers both acted swiftly. An offer was returned by NBC performs the lead role in her own series, a spin-off, or a weekly installment. Dickinson originally fought against it. There was a reputation for stereotyping on television, particularly among women of the period. However, the creators presented convincing evidence. It would be different for this position. Plus, it would expose her to millions of viewers weekly, which is crucial. To that end, Dickinson consented. In the later half of that year, Dickinson made her television debut as Sergeant Suzanne Pepper Anderson on the hit series Policewoman, a member of the Criminal Conspiracy Unit of the Los Angeles Police Department. In her undercover operation, she explored the seediest parts of the city by switching between guises. Along with Ed Bernard and Charles Deercop, Earl Holliman played Sergeant Bill Crowley, her superior officer in the investigation. The screen was firmly in Dickinson's hands from the start. She wasn't being tough for the sake of it. Pepper had a strong mind, remained calm, and showed empathy. Someone who could command attention without raising their voice. Everyone in the crowd chimed in. The show's unexpected popularity caused it to skyrocket in the ratings, and not just in the United States. At a time when dramatic roles for female characters were uncommon, Dickinson was more than just a curiosity. Change had occurred. She was nominated for Best Main Actress in a dramatic series 3 times in a row and went on to win the Golden Globe. For 4 seasons, Policewoman was on the air. At its height, Dickinson was among the most famous female TV personalities. It wasn't without cost, though. Years later, in an interview conducted in 2019, she discussed the show with an undercurrent of remorse. "We had an unforgiving shooting schedule. I was unimpressed by the salary. Because of her busy schedule, she had to pass up film parts that may have taken her career in new directions. There was also the ever-present stress of trying to keep up appearances." She made the joke, "Are my legs exploited?" Once. "Well, I don't have anything else to offer." Some sequences, like Dickinson accepting a phone call while in a bubble bath, were written with her physical attractiveness in mind, even if she had creative input. She put up a show, but there was an underlying conflict between the character's real life and what the industry expected of her. Still, ratings weren't the only thing that Policewoman affected. Many women were influenced by what they saw on television and applied to become police officers, leading to an increase in applications from this demographic. There was more about Pepper Anderson than meets the eye. She came to represent the potential and acceptance of women everywhere. Dickinson was aware of the societal shift she had influenced. The Los Angeles Police Department presented her with an honorary degree in 1987, and she winked as she accepted it. "You can now refer to me as Doctor." Pepper. For both nostalgic and parody purposes, she continued to reprise the part after the show ended in 1978, playing Pepper Anderson again for the 1987 Saturday Night Live episode and Bob Hope's Christmas specials, as well as appearing in NBC's Ringo special alongside Ringo Starr and John Ritter. Keeping a public persona while also tending to one's private life is no easy feat, and Angie Dickinson's love life is no exception. Even though the limelight was always beckoning Angie Dickinson away from her family, she never let it. Angie wed Glendale College football star Gene Dickinson in 1952 before she became famous. Their marriage ended in 1959, the same year she had her breakout role as Feathers, the seductive gambler in Rio Bravo. They were college sweethearts. That performance launched her Hollywood career and solidified her status as a symbol. She became almost as famous for her private life as she was for her acting performances in the years that followed. Some of the most influential men in American history were romantically associated with Dickinson. These included Frank Sinatra, who starred with her in Ocean's 11, and supposedly President John F. Kennedy. But it wasn't until 1965, when she wed renowned composer Burt Bacharach, that the relationship that would shape her private life the most began. The genius behind for smash singles like Say a Little Prayer and What the World Needs Now is Love. For 15 years, they were married, an unusually long period of time in the entertainment industry. Dickinson once said she was mad about baccarat, and the couple managed to juggle fame, ambition, and love admirably for a while. Nikki, their only child, was born to them in 1966. Because of her low birth weight of 1 pound, 10 ounces, and early delivery, 3 months early, Nikki's prognosis was precarious. Her doctors said her odds were very low. Hour by hour, Angie and Bert rejoiced in their daughter's development as they tracked her progress. An additional ounce acquired in a day, devoid of catastrophe. Despite Nikki's determination, the obstacles persisted. Her eyesight began to deteriorate, and a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome came later. The event altered Dickinson's perspective on life. The importance of screen time or scripts in determining a career path has shifted. They concerned the distance from the house. In an effort to be fully present, she started declining assignments, even big ones. She turned down several acting roles, including the legendary one of Hot Lips Houlihan in MASH, saying that she needed more time with her kid. She continued to demand limits even after landing Policewoman in 1974. Dickinson opted not to work overtime so she could be home to prepare Baccarat and Nikki's dinner. It was an unusual stand to take in a field where personal boundaries are often blurred and long hours are the norm. Domestic life, however, was not something that Dickinson crammed in between shots. It was the exact essence of all the other things. She passed up the kind of big-budget parts that could have propelled her to stardom in Hollywood in favor of spending more time with her family. However, she clearly had no qualms about it. Her decisions revealed that she was a lady who knew the price of fame and made thoughtful decisions about when and how to pay it. Even before her role as a policewoman catapulted her to fame, Angie Dickinson had a firm belief. Despite her best efforts, she became even more renowned than her spouse. In the mid-1970s, when Angie's career was booming, Burt Bacharach was negotiating rough waters. In a contract dispute, his longtime colleague Dionne Warwick sued him, marking the beginning of a difficult period for him professionally. The Fishers were also starting to appear at home. Despite her profound feelings for Bacharach, she admitted to being completely obsessed with him at one point. Ultimately, it was Angie who gave her everything. She established firm limits in the workplace. If at all possible, she would like not to work on weekends, overtime, or during the night. After a long day, she would rush home to prepare supper for Bert and their daughter Nikki. It was difficult for Angie, as her friend and co-star Earl Holliman once put it. With a thriving TV show and a marriage to support, she was clearly under a lot of pressure. Angie and Bert had subtly started living apart by 1976, barely 2 years into Policewoman. Their marriage was far from over. Not formally, but they were certainly no longer living in the same house. Angie remained in their Beverly Hills residence with Nikki, while Baccarat spent most of his time at their Del Mar Beach property. Angie agreed with her friends that it was an unusual arrangement. Nonetheless, she maintained that they were each dealing with it independently. "I still consider myself married to Bert, quite married, even if she stated we're seeing other people. I adore him. He is absolutely lovely to me." Still, there was that feeling of devotion. However, the drift persisted nonetheless. They finalized their divorce in 1981 following a 5-year separation. Took some of the blame on herself. She complained about putting in too many hours and stated she would have quit if things had been switched around. Songwriter Carol Bear Sager was Bacharach's eventual spouse. Aware that he required someone who could relate to him on a deeper level than she could, Angie sent her best wishes his way. Nonetheless, they remained inseparable. Their love for Nikki was the glue that held Angie and him together, and she displayed his pictures all around the house. Similar to her father, Nikki had a natural talent for music. She was an avid drummer with an insatiable appetite for learning about the universe and all its mysteries. To a certain extent, she differed greatly from her mother. Angie still remembers the day Nikki told her that they would never be equal in femininity. Studying geology at Cal Lutheran University gave Nikki a feeling of purpose, despite years of fighting visual difficulties and Asperger's condition. Even though she was able to get her degree with the support of her father, she was never able to work in the area because of her vision problems. Nikki took her own life in her Thousand Oaks residence in April 2012. Her age was 41. Tragic information were revealed. According to Bert's representative, she sought solace from the mental and emotional burden she had endured for an extended period before taking her own life with the help of helium and a plastic bag. To escape the mental anguish that Asperger's caused, she took her own life in a calm and collected manner. Science, meteor showers, earthquakes, calving glaciers, sunsets, cats, and Tahiti were all things that Nikki enjoyed, according to her statement. Long before they truly grasped her hardships, Bert had even composed a song named Nikki specifically for her in 1969. Both parents were devastated by her loss. It was the kind of agony that Angie would never get over. After a long and challenging life fashioned by celebrity, sacrifice, and the quiet, unending love of a mother who never ceased showing up, the loss marked the end of a terrible chapter. Even though Angie went through a tough patch, there were bright spots when she experienced profound love. Just who was Angie Dickinson's soulmate? Although he was not the man she wed, he was her soulmate. Frank Sinatra and Angie Dickinson had an intense on-and-off romance for 20 years. There was never a wedding between them, despite the strong bond and love they shared. Even with their passionate love, there were still obstacles. Sinatra, who had 4 marriages in his lifetime, almost went in a different direction with Dickinson. The policewoman actress went on to say that she and Sinatra had discussed getting married, but that their plans fell through. Despite her gushing description of him as her soulmate, Dickinson acknowledged that there were factors that prevented her from responding positively. Meeting behind the scenes at the Colgate Comedy Hour in 1953 was the beginning of their story. During that period, Gene Dickinson was Dickinson's first husband, and Ava Gardner was Sinatra's second wife. The sparks still flew. "Are you married?" Sinatra inquired. He then said, "Should I take your number, anyway?" In response to her affirmative response, she let him have it.